Welcome, this is Chris 122380 with a look at Avast 5, the final. You can get that either by updating the beta and then rebooting the computer, or by going to avast.com, which just recently changed their website. Recently appeared to me in the United States on January 19th, 2010, but that doesn't mean it won't be available for you yet, or it may vary wherever you are. Now, there are some parts of the site that aren't quite working yet, some of the links. For example, finding the Linux version of Avast 5, I don't know if there's going to be one or if the links aren't working yet. So that's a possibility. But this is the new Avast 5 home. Some differences with Avast 5 compared to Avast 4, specifically the program-wise. There are now 3 options instead of your typical 2. There's the free antivirus program, which is what we're going to look at. There is Avast Professional, which is the antivirus suite. And then there is Avast Internet Security. Let's take a quick look at the website. Learn more. It's going to take you to the section about what's new. The reason I'm going in here is because if you scroll down and click Compare Products, it's going to give you an overview of Avast Free, Avast Pro, and Internet Security, just so you can get a look at those. So, that's a brief overview of the website. Since it's a copyrighted website, we won't go too far into looking at that. But here is Avast 5. It hasn't changed much from the beta, if you were a beta user. You may notice, as I did, I updated from the beta to the final, and this little advertisement here kept giving a warning about a bad link to the website, stuff like that. I don't know if it changed once the website came up, because I didn't really look. Once the website came up, what I did is I removed Avast 5 from my system, did a nice clean, make sure none of the Avast was left, and I reinstalled, just to make sure I had a clean installation. Not much has changed. Some settings that I like to make sure are set is to go into settings, update, and this is what it looks like by default. I typically set it to automatic update. I find though that with the beta that didn't exactly work, so I'm not sure if it will work in the final or not. I'm gonna go ahead and set it anyway. Then I typically go into real-time shields and I change a bunch of stuff. I start by file system shield and I go to expert settings. I go to sensitivity and I set it to high, and I set it to scan PUPs or potentially unwanted programs, possible spyware. And then I change packers to all packers, and I do that for all of the shields that have an expert settings, except for when we get to P2P, and I go into expert settings and I go to sensitivity and I change it to test whole files. I do that for mail shield too, so any files that are coming in, the whole file will be checked rather than where maybe in the file the virus would be. I do that in part so that I make because your big viruses typically come through mail, email, and P2P. A nice thing about these are, if you click on programs up here for your P2P, it's going to show you all the P2P file sharing software that Avast will take advantage of securing. The same is true with the IM shield, which is really neat. One thing I noticed that was interesting with the mail shield, when I tried to run Thunderbird, it complained about the it complained about the security settings for it, the SSL account. What you can see here is set up Gmail's SSL account. What you then do is you go into your Thunderbird, set the security settings to none, and what happens is Avast then monitors and controls the SSL encryption for you, not your email client. Which took me a little while to figure that out, but that's what was going on. Now I don't know if programs was listed in here. No, because it probably doesn't really matter. It's done by settings and ports. But under IM, if you go to expert settings, there is a list of programs, your most popular ones, including some not so popular ones. Like I use Pigeon, which is listed here. I would leave all these checked just for one's safety. Then you have the maintenance section, which is on how to update, register your virus chest, which doesn't have anything in it because I haven't found any viruses yet, which is a good thing. Excuse me. But the registration, you want to click here to register your product. There's a spot toward the bottom to put in the key, or you can register straight from the antivirus program, which is really nice. And that's also where you can register for additional products like the Pro version or Internet Security version. I'm not going to show you that only because it also tells you when my registration expires, which is nobody else's business. And then about Avast tells you what version you're running, which doesn't really matter because my version's right here and it gives the copyright information. Not really important to see. Then let's go to scan computer because that's the really important part. And this shows when I last scanned. Let's get rid of the show details because this is typically what it looks like. You can go in here and click show details and click settings, and you can make some of the same similar setting changes as one would do with the real-time shield, which is true with all of these. But you also have create a custom scan, which I don't find totally necessary because select a folder to scan or right-clicking a folder or an item in Explorer and clicking scan is almost as efficient in just doing a custom scan. So I find it not necessary, but I can understand why they have it because people may want to have their own custom scan section, like scan my USB only or whatever, which is kind of what removable media is, but you kind of get the concept. Then you have boot time scan, which I've found I used to not like the boot time scan. I find with rootkits and some things, if you delete them or clean them or quarantine them, your system sometimes won't be bootable. But I found recently too that when you run the boot time scan, Avast will give you prompts, and if you're not sure, you can tell it to ignore it, which can be a good thing, but could be a bad thing, especially if it's still a virus. We'll just take that into account. Then, of course, the scan logs. When did you last run a scan? Da 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 da. Of course, it's showing I ran a boot time. Oh, I did run a boot time scan. I terminated it early. But this is Avast 5. A brief overview. If you click show details, it'll show you like your same information you might find if you go to maintenance and about Avast. Silent gaming mode is awesome. You set it to turn it on and turn it on permanently, so while you're playing the game it won't harass you about updates, won't harass you if it finds a virus. It's very quiet that way. Very nice. This is Avast 5, the final. Please download it today from avast.com. I'm not a distributor or anything. I just really like Avast 5. I use it over paid ones. There are other good ones out there.